So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Scotland's Rural College Aberdeen campus presentation and student panel question and answer session. So firstly, I'd like to thank you for coming along and joining us, and I hope you're going to find this event informative. And hopefully you'll leave us today with a lot of your questions answered about studying at Craibstone campus. So firstly, some introductions. My name is Bridget Edmonston and I'm the Student Recruitment and Marketing Officer for the campus. I'm going to now introduce you to my colleague, Audrey Channing, who is the Academic Liaison Manager and the Campus Administration Manager. Who or what Audrey doesn't know about the campus is not worth knowing. So she's a good person to talk to. So Audrey's going to run through her presentation, and that's going to give you an overview of studying on the campus, as well as some other information such as funding and our student support services. Following Audrey's presentation, I will introduce you to our student panel, which is made up of two of our student ambassadors, that's Lucy and Katrina, and also Katie, who graduated last year from the campus and now is actually working alongside us. They're going to tell you about the reality of being a student at Aberdeen campus and just generally all about the experiences. So feel free to ask us any questions. You'll see a little icon on your screen with a question mark. Click on that and you can type in your questions. We'll not answer your questions during the event. We'll wait and we'll have a little session at the end and answer the questions as best we can. So one other thing before we get started, just to let you know that we are going to be recording the session, and we'll email you this to you in the next couple of days. So if you think you've missed something, don't worry, you can go back and watch the presentation again, or you can watch the whole thing again if you want, or you can skip to the bits that particularly interested you. So with no further ado, I am now going to pass you to Audrey, who will introduce herself and run through her presentation. So welcome, Audrey.
Okay, Bridget, thank you very much. That's a big build-up. Hi everybody, my name is Audrey Channing and I'm the Academic Liaison Manager and the Head of Faculty Administration here at Craibstone campus in Aberdeen. And that picture that you can see there, that's the Ferguson building up at Craibstone. Beautiful in springtime and summer. So briefly what I'm going to go through is, what learning opportunities are there for you at SRUC? What can you expect in terms of student support? Give you a brief overview of applications, funding and fees, what support you can get from the faculty office, our library and accommodation facilities, and then finally we'll have a quick chat about the Students' Association. We've got a range of learning opportunities, a range of courses. So we have agriculture, rural and estate, equine, which is new to us this year, wildlife and conservation management, environmental management, and many of these courses, especially the agricultural, animal care and the equine, start off at the lower levels, and then you can progress through to degree, masters, and if you really want, you can follow on and go up to PhD. The levels start off, if you're coming in at a beginning level in further education, you start off at level 4, and that's a national certificate introductory level. And say, for example, you can start off with intro to animal care, progress to the NC to animal care, progress to the HN or the HND to animal care, or you can go in a completely different direction if you wanted, and you could follow the veterinary care assistant and veterinary nursing path. You could go from there, from the veterinary nursing, you could go on to degree level. Within the agriculture, you can start off at an NC agriculture, go up to HN, and you can go all the way through to honours year with the agriculture. All sorts of different courses coming online, and we're looking to expand our portfolio in the future. We've also got MAs and SVQs, training and vocational courses, and we're currently doing those in the fields of agriculture and equine. We've also got opportunities for blended learning and flexible learning. I'm sure a lot of you heard about blended learning in the past 12 months. And then for those of you who may already be out in industry, we've got opportunities for you to come back and do some CPD training with us. Our courses are mainly practical. There is a lot of theory, but what we try and do is we try and get you to work in teams so that you're learning about those transferable skills. Coursework can vary depending on which course you're on. It can be a combination of case studies, projects and presentations. For a lot of the courses, for the agri, for the countryside, for the animal care, for the equine, lots of practical skills. You're actually out and about. You could be up at Tulloch Farm. We're creating a new equine centre up at Sunnybray just now, so you could be out there with the horses. Or if you're animal care, you could be in the animal care unit. The other courses do offer opportunities for the field trips. You know, saying there last but not least, the field trips. The field trips are fantastic. And once we kind of get restrictions lifted, we like to take you all over the place. We'll take you to up hills, you know, down dales, we'll take you to the shore, we'll take you to the east coast, take you to the west coast, even take you over to the islands if we get the opportunity. The faculty office, I would say, is probably one of your main ports of call. The girls in there, you know, they support me in helping you with everything that you need to know. So you need to know about buses, lockers, funding fees, timetables, you know, how to get dissertations printed out, you know, how to get your laptop fixed, you know, if you've got a loan laptop from us, if you've got your own laptop, how to get some advice, you know, if you need some extra help from student support, and that can be with, you know, educational studies, can be with pastoral, funding, careers, just about anything. Come to the faculty office and the girls in there will help you and point you in the right direction. Take health and safety very, very seriously on campus. We have a number of first aiders. We've got a number of mental health first aiders as well. We've also got first aid room, and we're all qualified. So, you know, anything happens, we can take care of you. We've also got a quiet room. And, you know, sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes if you're on campus and there's, you know, hustle and bustle, and especially as we kind of start to progress out of COVID, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be nervous about coming back onto campus. And if you're just having one of those moments where you think, I need time and space, we've got a dedicated quiet room, but we've also got other quiet areas that you can go to if needed. We have a counsellor, we have pastoral support, we have myself, and then we have another counsellor on campus as well. So if you're finding things a bit tough, there's plenty of us to help you through. Safeguarding, a number of staff are safeguarders, and that's for the halls and for Craibstone, excuse me. And, you know, if you're having any issues, any concerns, the safeguarders come to any one of us, and we've got guys and females, come to any one of us and we can help you out. COVID, we're right across from TECA for the testing centre. So if something did happen and you came on, you thought you needed a test, we can get you there quickly. We do have for the halls, we do have the lateral flow tests, so we could get you tested, and we can give you advice about COVID. And we are a COVID, you know, a COVID prepared campus. We have one-way systems in situ. We've got the hand gel dispensers. Everything's 2 meters apart. We've prepared a lot, and we have had groups in, you know, before the lockdown. So we're well adapted to dealing with COVID and preventative measures. As I said, safeguarding is really, really important to us. You know, we value you guys. You know, we are there for you. For those of you who may be coming from far afield and maybe coming into your halls, you know, we're your surrogate parents as well as being your lecturers and, you know, and your people for support. And, you know, it's my job to make sure that when you're with us at Craibstone, you're safe. Student support, oh my, that is big. I've got a list there of things that we can help you with. Basically, you find something for us and we'll find a way to help you. You know, we cannot do, we are, how do we help you through it? So whether it's educational support, whether it's mental health issues, whether it's, you know, what am I going to do, you know, when I graduate, what course can I go to? You know, even if I don't want to do a course with SRUC, what can I do next? You know, funding, you're going to speak to Katie later on, hopefully. You know, we've got all the support there and probably more than you could ever need, but you just need to come and tell us, or we just need to spot you and say, hey, what can we do to help? And that's something that I'm missing this year. And anybody who's probably in education just now, you know, if you're still in school or at another college, you're probably missing that too. Just wandering around the corridor, seeing your lecturers, seeing your support staff, and just getting that look that, hey, things are okay. So I'm really hoping that we'll actually see you on campus very, very soon. Funding. We have our student support funding officer on campus now, who's Katie, and she will be able to help you with all things to do with bursaries, educational maintenance allowance, travel expenses. We've also got other little pots of money kicking around that we can help you with. And Katie, honestly, I'm sure she is my pixie, my money pixie. She seems to find pots of money all over the place. Educational maintenance allowances, those of you who are in school just now, you may already be eligible for those, and you may continue to be eligible for those if you're under 18 at the start of your course. Travelling expenses, I do put buses on, so if you're local, you know, there is a coach that comes from Aberdeen, but if you're out with 2 miles from college, then you may get paid travelling expenses. All these bursaries and expenses you have to apply for, and they are dependent on your family income. For those of you who are coming in for HE, not the FE level, you've got SAS. So you would apply to SAS for your award. And again, it is dependent on your own family income. If you've studied before, and this has happened to a few students, and it's a point worth making, if you've done an HN before, then you only get a certain amount of years pots of money for HE levels. So if you've done an HN before, it's very well worth checking with SAS to see what you're entitled to make sure that you don't end up in the situation where you kind of get to the end of your last year of study, for example, and suddenly find I've got to pay this myself. So it's always worth getting in touch with SAS and seeing what you are eligible for. Other little pots of money are childcare funds, discretionary funds, and centenary bursaries. And this year, you know, because of COVID, we've had additional pots of money to help out with digital devices, digital poverty. And then I think Katie managed to find us other little pots of money to help out. So we try as best as we can to find financial support for you. I know some students do like to work, you know, when they're studying, but sometimes that in itself can be overwhelming depending on the course that you're studying. So first stop, come and see what we can offer you to help you out. Library just now is click and collect or click and sit. Everything has to be booked. We don't have just random people walking in. Normally the library would be open all through the day. Currently, you know, for people who are booking to come in, we've still got that hour at lunchtime where we get the place cleaned. The cleaners come in, give it a good clean before anybody comes in the afternoon. Normally, when you're here, it will be open all the time from 8:45 through to the evening, and you can book spaces. I'm creating smaller study rooms this year as well for students. So you've got bookable spaces. You can work on your own, in small groups or in larger groups. You can book out classrooms as well if you want to practice doing things like presentations. In the library, they can help you with referencing for those of you who are going in at higher level for all your Harvard referencing. They can help you with passwords, help you with your computers, help you with your dissertations. It's not just books in the library, there's so much more in there, and they're always willing to help. Accommodation and facilities, we've got 3 halls. We've got Sutton, Hunter and Mackey. Now Mackey are for our underage students, for our under 18s. So in there, they're standard rooms. They're not actually in that picture. They're kind of behind you. If you're looking, they're kind of behind you and they're next to the canteen. Hunter Hall, that's the one straight ahead and facing you. Hunter Hall's got a bar in it, and that's 20 standard rooms. And the building to the left of the picture, which you can't really see properly, that's Sutton, and that's got 60 ensuite rooms. The bedrooms, they're self-catering, and there's a self-catering kitchen, you can see there, and there's also laundry facilities in each of the halls. Within the halls, pool table, and right at the back of that top bubble, you can see there's a bar in the background. We've got a 5-a-side football pitch. The image to the left is just at the canteen, and then we have a gym on site as well. Bus transport, there is daily transport to and from Aberdeen city centre, and I think that's probably going to increase. The public transport site is probably going to increase because we have a housing development that's coming up around Craibstone, and as more and more people move in, they'll have to improve the infrastructure, so they'll probably improve the bus services as well. But I do put on daily transport from the centre of town out to Craibstone and then back into the centre of town at the end of the day. SRUC, we have a campus officers. Currently there's 3 campus officers, one based in the north, one based in central and one based in south. We also have student ambassadors, 2 of which are going to meet in a little while. And we also create the student liaison groups, and that's representatives from each class, 1 or 2 representatives from each class who meet with their tutors at the 3 meetings a year. And then we all meet in a student liaison committee, and everybody meets with me. And basically it's where you've got your student voice and you get to tell me what's good, what's bad, what you don't like about the canteen. That usually is one that comes up if you don't like what's on the menu. You know, just anything and everything. You know, is the curriculum relevant to you? Would you like more of something and less of something else? What's working well for you? You know, what do you think is missing from the college? I really like to hear from you, and you know, I'm quite happy to bimble around and sit down and have a chat at any time, but this is like a formal annual meeting that we meet with the Board of Management as well. Throughout the year as well, there's also evaluation forms that you do at the end of each unit and each course to see how well the unit worked for you. And then we've got surveys. We've got the National Student Survey. We've got another FE survey that we like to do. And again, it's just about hearing your voice, you know, from you directly and through your campus officers and ambassadors. Normal student life is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun, and I'm desperately missing it. I'm missing all the events that we would have. You can see we do charity events. I think that was the Pudsey event. We do, you know, the Red Nose, all those kind of things. The students love to try and raise money, usually for the SSPCA. On the left-hand side, we put them all in a big tight sack, and we had races, and it was the SRUC Olympics. We have clubs that you could join if you fancy. If you're in the halls, we've got movie nights and theme nights. At the end of the year, the students get together and they put on an SRUC ball. And then, of course, it all culminates, you know, once you get to that stage where you go to graduation. So why would you like to come to us? Well, we are a small and friendly campus, although it feels like we're growing now with the Equine Centre and the farm and the animal care unit. But we're small, we're friendly, we've got a great community spirit. We're not as rural as we once were. Aberdeen's creeping out towards us. And so we're really close, and we've got good transport links into Aberdeen city centre. We've got flexible learning options. You know, as we've said, we've been doing a lot of blended learning this year. We've got excellent teaching facilities. We've got a new skills lab that's being built this summer, and we've got links to industry and progression to employment. So I'm going to leave these up on screen for you just now. These are useful contacts. If there's anybody that you want to get more information from, here's some email addresses, and you can see we've got quite a big social media presence as well. I really look forward to seeing you on campus, look forward to hearing from you. If you've got any questions, please just get in touch. Thank you very much. Back over to you, Bridget.
Thank you very much, Audrey. That was a really informative presentation. I hope that's answered many of the questions that that many of the people here might have had. We're now going to have the exciting bit. We are now going to hand over to our students, and I'd like to introduce some of my student ambassadors. We've got 6 ambassadors here at Aberdeen, and we're lucky to have 2 of them here today. And we've also got Katie, who I said earlier was recently a student here, so she can tell it from a different perspective. So first of all, I am going to introduce you to Kat, and the girls will firstly just give a little quick overview of themselves, and then after that we'll move on to the question and answer session. So welcome, Kat.
Hello, I'm Kat and I'm in my first year doing rural business management.
Thank you, Kat. And I'm now going to pass over to Lucy.
Hello everyone, I'm Lucy and I'm on my second year of studying animal care.
And then finally to Katie.
Hi everyone, like Bridget said, I graduated last year after 4 years doing RBM as well.
Fabulous, thank you very much. So firstly, I'm going to ask Kat a question about her big change in her life. Kat, prior to this lockdown, you took the plunge and you moved up from the north of England up to Aberdeen. So can you tell me a little bit about what that was like for you? It was obviously a big move north and not in the most normal of circumstances. What was it like? And did you manage for that very short time under quite constrained circumstances to actually get any exploring done in and around Aberdeen?
Yeah, absolutely. Moving to Craibstone was like something huge. It was a really, really big life moment. I loved every second of it, but it was so nerve-wracking. I have to admit, I did cry when my mum left, just like most people probably did. There wasn't just me in halls, which like made it so much easier. Otherwise, I probably would have gone a little bit insane. But we were all moved like in a staggered way, so we weren't all just like in the halls at the same time with stuff everywhere. We had different moving times. It was really, really well planned out. And I thoroughly loved moving in halls because I really, really like travelling. So moving to university was something where I could go and learn, which is what I wanted to continue doing. And then to keep on travelling. We do share kitchens, but there is a student restriction of how many can go in. So there's only 4 people, so it's 2 people cooking, 2 people eating. But it's very manageable and I really, really enjoyed it.
That's great, Kat. Thank you very much. And another quick question for you again. The experience of living in halls, was it what you expected? Was it something that you had always wanted to do? And did the experience change you in any way? I
mean, I feel like it did. I feel more mature, if that could answer that bit. I feel very mature. I cooked meals for myself. I made pasta, so I really did enjoy it. I have only like positive things to say about living in halls. I got to know everybody else even with the restrictions in place. So we used to open our doors and sit just outside the doorway and chat to each other up and down the corridor. It was really nice. We went on loads of hikes together to get to know each other. There was pubs and restaurants that were open as well, because at the time it wasn't locked down. Everything was just socially distanced. So we got to know each other really, really, really well. I really enjoyed it, but for the short 3 months I was there, it was really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you, Kat. Hopefully you'll get back into halls at some point in the near future. I've now got a question for Lucy. Lucy, what made you apply to SRUC, and why do you think coming to Craibstone is a good option for students?
At the time, my friend was studying at SRUC and she used to talk about it quite a bit, and I found out that they had practical animal care courses, and I really liked the idea of that because I love working with animals. And it's quite close to where I live as well, and I think for new students it's quite close to the city centre, and like Audrey said, there is transport, and the staff are really friendly and helpful as well, and they do provide a progression route for your studies, and if you do have questions about what you want to do, they are really helpful in suggesting ways to go.
That's great, Lucy. And just another question for you again. So thinking back, because you've been now at Craibstone, this is now your second year here, I think, thinking back into the midst of time when things were normal pre-COVID, can you remember what your experience was like as a new student?
Yeah, so my first year, which was last year, I hadn't been in education for quite a while because I was working, so I was really nervous. But like I said, my friend was studying at college at SRUC and she recommended it, so I popped in for an open day and saw everyone working with animals and just really wanted to do it. And when I started, I was really surprised at how close the classes get, obviously before COVID. And it was really good to have friends to share the college experience with. And the teachers were really helpful and nice, and it'll be really great to get back to normal.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling that as well. Like Audrey said, I think working, in education, we're all missing being around the students. I'm missing being out and about and meeting people at schools as well. So I think the sooner we hopefully can get back to normal, the better. I've now got a question for Katie. Katie, obviously at Craibstone, we don't just have programmes for our school leavers. Several of our courses are really popular with, dare I say, more mature students and career changers. Courses that are really popular are rural business management and wildlife and conservation management with career changers. Katie, you were, dare I say it, one of those more mature students, although you don't look it, and you graduated with a 2-1 in RBM last year. As a working mum, I know throughout your course you juggled a ton of commitments with huge success. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that experience that you had?
Yeah, so hi everyone. Like Bridget said, it was rural business management that I did over 4 years. So it was full time, and I had kids to juggle and another part-time job as well. So there was a lot of sort of different commitments pulling me in all different ways. But it was very, I didn't sort of do any of these webinars to prepare me in advance. It was very much last minute. Literally the week before the course started, I called and spoke to the program leader who just said, come on in next week and we'll just make it work. So that was initially just a 1-year thing, and I enjoyed it so much that I ended up staying 4 years.
Fabulous, Katie. And I think that's quite often the way with the more mature students. It's a decision that is taken at a much later stage. It's a bigger decision to make, commitments to give up, etc. So yeah, I totally get that. Katie, again, another question for you. Can you tell us a little bit about our staff? Were they understanding to your situation? And what did they do to make sure that you had the success that you ended up having?
Yeah, so again, it was, with it being quite a last minute thing, I think I didn't have time to think about it, and I was led by them a lot, sort of telling me the different options that there were. And although you might sort of read about the course and what it entails, I'd say there are exceptions to that, and that everybody is really understanding of people's own personal circumstances, and they are really willing to work around your own situation. So, I would come in a bit late or leave a bit early if I had to for kids. But as long as you've got the self-motivation to catch up and to do the work, then yeah, everyone is really willing to help you get there in the end.
Thank you, Katie. So we're going to go back to Kat now. Another question for you, Kat. So you joined this year. This has been your first year. It's been a bit of a yo-yo, a bit of something that you would never have expected it to be. Tell us a little bit about your experience this far.
Well, because I'm currently in my second term, my first and second terms have been nothing more than complete opposites. So I've had to like settle pretty quickly into both different types of terms. But I'm really enjoying currently what's been thrown at us all, I should say. Literally chucked in the face. That's actually how it happened. But I find myself to be quite a talkative and chatty person, whether that be a good or a bad thing. So I'm really, really sad that I didn't get to meet my classmates. But we did make like a Snapchat group, so we have got to know each other through like little snippets of each other's lives. But at the minute, the course is delivered through blended learning, which is a mix of like online lectures, little bits of written work, little bits of assessments, timed assessments, essay style, and it works. I think it works really, really well. Obviously, like nothing beats a classroom environment at all, but it works really well, and I really enjoy it. So far, we're all sort of managing all right. So I think it's pretty good. But yeah, I just can't wait to get back into a classroom setting.
That's great, Kat. Thank you very much. I've now got a question for Lucy. And Lucy, the question is, prior to the last 12 months with COVID, did you take part in any clubs and societies? And if you didn't, you know, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what you know about what we have on campus?
So it's quite sad. This year I was actually aiming to go into clubs and that. Obviously I was too nervous in the first year. I set the goal of wanting to start in clubs this year, and then that got foiled. But I do know that the college has like agri clubs and engineering clubs, crafting clubs. There's really anything for everybody. They've got sports clubs and rural skills. Like I said, there's something for everybody, and it's a great way to meet other people that are studying on the campus. I am excited for getting it back. I want to participate in some of it, but yeah, they have loads of clubs.
Thank you, Lucy. And I think you know what else we can say about that is they change year on year as well. Some of them seem to be static and come back time after time, but they are very much student led as well. So you know, we have students with an interest in a particular thing, and then you know suddenly you know a new club will spring up, such as the craft club. You know that sprung up because you know there's a few students interested in crafting. So you know, when we all do get back on campus, hopefully, you know, we'll have a big range of clubs for people to get involved in. Katrina, I'm back to you again. Talking about getting involved in things on campus, this year has been the first year that we've had a really, really successful year with our student ambassadors. Like I say, Lucy and Kat are both ambassadors. We've got another two girls as well. Can you tell me if this is something that anybody can get involved in? Why did you get involved in it, Kat?
Yeah, anyone can get involved in it. I don't remember how often it is, but the marketing team will send out just like a little promo thing. Like if you're interested, then please send some details in, and then they'll just be like, oh yeah, that's fine, and then you'll have a quick little interview about it, and then you won. It goes pretty quickly. I wanted to be a student ambassador because I just wanted, just at the time, college wasn't going so well. COVID was looming over us, and I wanted to just really get some hands-on experience with SRUC, because it's completely different than what we have at home. So this was the easiest way for me to really get into like a college atmosphere, and I've really enjoyed it so far. And literally anyone can do it, any background, anyone can get into it. So if you're even mildly interested, then I definitely say go for it, because I've loved every second of it.
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, we've had a bit of a laugh. We've had fun along the way as well. It's been great. And Lucy, can you sort of give us a bit of an overview of what we've been doing, like what you guys have been up to?
Yeah, so obviously we help in events like this with open days. Normally they'd be face-to-face, and hopefully that'll get back to normal soon, because I think that it's great to have the back and forth from everybody. Right now we're doing a lot of social media posts with the marketing team, just to really share the student experience and what we're doing. We make blogs and videos, send out photographs and pick up national days and just share everything that we're doing. It is really fun. Like I said, like Kat said, it's great to get involved. It's quite hands-on. It really is for everybody.
Thank you, Lucy. And I think just leading on from that, if anybody who's watching the event today, if you haven't already signed up to our social media channels, it really is something you should do if you're thinking about coming along to the campus, because we do post a lot of student experience up there, and it'll give you a good overview of what we're really all about. Now I'm going to ask everybody about their course, and I'm going to start with Kat. And Kat, I just want to ask you first of all, and then Katie, if you want to kind of add on to that, because you obviously Kat is currently studying RBM, and you're obviously out the other end of that. So Kat, I'll first ask you about studying RBM, and if there's anything, Katie, you want to add on.
Yeah, so I am currently studying RBM, and I kind of describe it as the behind the scenes of agri. You don't so you think of agriculture and you think of tractors and fields and cold weather, but RBM's kind of the paperwork side, but it's mixed with environmental and legislation of businesses. And it's a mix of things, but everything works so well together. We share many of the lessons with the agris, which also works very well because I have a couple of friends now up at SRUC that do agri, so we can chat about things, and it does work really well together. The course kind of would be structured with sort of lessons and field trips, if you mind the pun, to actual field. But at the minute, obviously, because we can't, it's just sort of little videos and we get to watch other people walking around the field. Yeah, it's kind of those mixed with the assessments that I kind of mentioned earlier. I'm very new to agri though, so having something that's still related to something that I'm very excited about, but my take on it in rural business management is exactly that. It's something that I'm sort of interested in, which is the outdoors mixed with something that I can kind of get my hands into. Yeah, but since getting into it, I've sort of found out what I want to do later in life, which is be a farm manager, because I like to be bossy. So I'm very excited for that. Yeah.
That's great. And Katie, have you got anything to add to that?
I think the thing I liked the most about it was the RBM side is more sort of theory, like management theories and things like that. And then the agri side, like Kat said, the mixture of modules gives you a bit of sciencey side, and I quite like the mixture of the two. That I think that worked really well.
Great, Katie, thank you very much. And Lucy, you're studying animal care. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your course?
Yeah, so this is my second year of studying animal care. I'm at NC level now. In my first year before COVID, we would go into college and we would have our theory classes, and then we'd go into a practical where we got to work with the animals. And this year we haven't been able to do that yet, but it's online classes. We're doing some assessments and essay styles as well. It is a lot different from what I'm used to from my first year, but it is well structured and everyone helps out. Yeah, went a bit blank there. No, it's good. Miss working with animals though.
Thank you very much, Lucy. And now I'm just going to ask the girls all about their highlights. If they can just tell me what the highlights so far have there been, and what your highlights were, Katie, when you were actually studying at Craibstone. So Kat, over to you. What are the highlights for you?
I think my highlight so far has been moving into halls. Like I said previously, I'm very chatty, so being on my own, I'm kind of, I get a little bit sad. So meeting other people on campus and being just there in the moment, it was really, I don't know, it was really nice. It's a big change, and yeah, halls was definitely my favourite part so far, hands down.
Thank you. And Lucy, what's been the highlights for you in your 2 years?
I would definitely say in my first year working with animals, because I got to work with different animals that I hadn't seen and worked with before. I love learning about them, and it might seem silly, but they really do have different personalities and they make you smile. Honestly, they're all so different and they really brighten up your day.
Great, thank you. And Katie, obviously there was many highlights because you graduated and then came back to work with us. So
Yeah.
What was the highlight for you when you were studying at Craibstone?
I think when I was actually studying, the visits were probably one of my most favourite things, you know, getting to go out and see different businesses. Hopefully that can come back again for those that are maybe going to start this year or, you know, in following years. But also our class size, it wasn't huge. It was really, we were all really close, so it helped me sort of bounce off others if I missed classes due to my other commitments. And just, yeah, I was really glad that I started the year I did, because I wouldn't have met those people that, you know, ended up being quite close friends now.
Thank you, Katie. And I think, you know, that is a really good point as well, that, you know, our class sizes are very, very small. Our campus is very, like Audrey said, very small and friendly, and that is one of the big appeals for us at Craibstone. So that's us come to the end of our question and answer session, but I can see from my Q&A dialogue box that you're all going to put us through our paces. We've got quite a few questions here from our audience. The first one was, do we have any clubs, which I think we've answered. The second one is, how far is the campus, Audrey, from the city centre?
I knew you were going to ask me that one. Well, it's certainly within walking distance. I can do it. I would say 3 miles, 3.5 miles to the actual city centre. It's probably about a 5-minute walk to, you know, what you would say was the outskirts of the city. But I suppose if you were going to leg it, it'll be about 3.5 miles to the city centre.
I've ran it in the past, so I think, yeah, I think you're probably right. It says about, I think it's about 5 miles. Yeah, so
I'll stick to the walking.
I remember it well. The next question is, Audrey, are EMAs repayable?
No.
No. Okay. The third question is there a Christian union on campus?
There isn't, but that's not to say that there couldn't be. It's just nobody's ever asked. So if you want, yes, we can do. If there weren't enough people, you know, to make it viable, you know, depending on what you want out of it, then I know that we do have more or less on our doorstep in Dice, because I know that there's members of staff and previous students have gone there. So it's doable.
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey. And the next question is, do we have many students from England?
We do. We've got Kat, but no, we do. On each course there is probably at least 1 or 2 actually from England. Need to watch the funding, depending on where you're coming from and everything, and if you need any additional support, we need to watch the funding for that as well. You know, there's different packages available and different things we need to look into for you, but yes, we do.
Okay, and the next one, I'll give to you, Audrey, but then maybe Kat, you can maybe come in as well. So Rhiannon's saying, I'm 25. That's impressive you're giving up your age, Rhiannon, and you're from South Yorkshire. She's been speaking to tutors from both Barony and from Aberdeen about studying wildlife and conservation. Is the process of moving up to SRUC up here a difficult one?
I would say no. It depends on how you're planning, the physical process depends on how you plan on getting up here, by car, train or whatever. You arrive and we open the door and that's it, you're in. Very, very easy. We're very welcoming. We have a welcoming committee ready for you when you arrive on campus, help you see you into your halls. And then the rest of us are always kind of mooching around looking to make sure you're settling in. But that's from my perspective. I'm going to hand over to Kat and see what she thought.
Audrey kind of just hit it on the head, really. Kind of just pack your bags and go. That's all I did. I drove up. Well, I didn't drive. I can't drive. It was about a 5.5 hour journey from Durham, where I live. So it'll probably be about 8 hours from Yorkshire, I would have thought. But it genuinely depends how the physical process of how you're getting there. Bridget was right. So if you're coming on train, it's probably a lot comfier than a car. But once you get there, everyone's really nice, and you get the keys to your room, and that's it. You're there.
Thank you, Kat. The next question. I'm not sure that we can answer this in full, but I'll pose it to Audrey anyway. But perhaps we can get one of our agricultural lecturers to email you. But Audrey, are you able to describe a typical day for an agricultural student pre-COVID?
Now you do make me laugh. Yes. Well, again, from my perspective, when I started with SRUC a few years ago, I was in a ground floor office and I kind of looked out the window and I thought, am I seeing right? And a bunch of ponies walked past. Then another time I'm looking out the office window and there's a tractor parking up alongside. And I'm like, who's that coming out of there? And then walk around the building, anytime you'll see wellies and coveralls just deposited at a door, or you'll follow a trail of muddy footprints down a corridor, and the agris are in town. And if you don't see them, you certainly hear them, as they come, barging into the campus. A typical day, from what I could observe, rock up, sometimes come into classes, sometimes have some theory lessons, and then you'd see them all just tearing off for a minibus and heading off towards the farm. Or you'd see them all scooting back in from the farm, wet, muddy, and depositing mud everywhere as they head off for the canteen. Or you'd see them jumping into the cars and heading up for McDonald's or KFC. And when they're out at the farm, I think it's a combination of things. There's things to do with sheep, I know that. There's things to do with cows, I know that as well, because they come in and tell me all the gory bits and pieces about what they've been doing. The things I know about parasites that I never knew before, really didn't need to know that. Things about how, lambs, sheep ovulate, how you lamb. Katie would probably be better coming in on this one. All things about cows and bits and pieces about cows that I never knew. To soils, crops, going out, field trips into fields, having a look at different bits and pieces of plants. It's amazing. It's opened my eyes. My background wasn't in agriculture and I came into it, kind of all dewy-eyed and fresh-faced. And it's like, wow, it's an eye-opener. It's an absolute eye-opener. There's so much more to it and so much more interesting stuff to it than I could ever have believed. It's fascinating. If I had to actually go down another career path, I think I would have moved away from the humdrum of a computing, degree and maybe gone somewhere a little bit more adventurous. They have a brilliant time. Absolutely. Does that help?
Perfect, Audrey. And I'm with you there as well. I think if I could live my life again, I think I would probably study at SRUC as well.
Yeah.
The next question is about the accommodation. Do we have any virtual tours or photographs?
We don't at the moment because we did have some pictures, but they were kind of static. They were old, and we would hope to go back into the campus and do, some video footage. Unfortunately, COVID went and said, no, thank you very much, you're not allowed in. and then we're only allowed to be there for essential purposes only. So we can't go in because it's not deemed as being essential. As soon as restrictions are lifted, then we'll scoot back in and we'll get some footage and we'll be able to put something together.
Thank you, Audrey. Can you describe to Amy what are the major differences between being at secondary school and coming to SRUC?
Oh yeah, far more fun. You come to SRUC and you're coming to us and you're an adult and we treat you like an adult. You know, 16, 17, you are on campus, you're an adult. There's no bells that are going to sound. You're not told, you know, you take responsibility for yourself. You take responsibility for your learning. We're there to help, guide, mentor, coach, support, whatever you need. But you know, you're coming there to expand your knowledge. It's so not like school, completely different from school. There's none of this hands up, you know, and there's none of this miss type stuff. You know, it's first name basis with the lecturers. Everybody's friendly, everybody's approachable, and quite often, you know, as I'm wandering through a corridor, you know, you'll sit down, you'll have a chin mag with a student. You know, you kind of go and grab a coffee, and you just, it's very natural. It's not like secondary school at all.
Thank you, Audrey. The next question is about having a virtual tour of the campus. I think I can answer that. We, in the letter that I sent out today, we enclosed a short video which we've uploaded onto YouTube of what we have, excuse me, of the campus. As Audrey said, we're very, very limited in the footage we have, and very limited in the fact that we can't get back in. So as soon as we can, believe me, I'll be back in there and trying to get more footage of the campus. But unfortunately, at this point in time, what I actually linked in the letter for these events is what we have at the moment. As I say, as soon as I can get back in, I will, you know, make something a little bit more interesting than what we can give you at the moment. So I hope that answers that question. I've got a question here I'll give to Lucy. Lucy, did you do any volunteering before or prior to COVID studying animal care?
Unfortunately, no. Again, that was something that I was going to tackle in my second year. I do know a lot of people, like in classes, do tend to volunteer, especially with animal care. They would go to the SSPCA and do some volunteer work there. But no, I'm not. Maybe pass that to Audrey.
I would recommend, if anybody's wanting to get onto an animal care course, that they do some volunteering, because when you apply for animal care and when you come for certainly the vet care assistants and the vet nursing, when you're going for those courses, they've got matrix, so they'll ask you in your application, have you got any experience, any volunteering experience? And experience, you know, earns you bonus points. So the more experience that you've got, you know, and the longer experience you've got, you get points for that. And, you know, they rate that along with the entry criteria. So, you know, do you meet the minimum entry criteria? You get points for that. So it's to, you know, to see, because it's so competitive. It's very, very competitive, you know, to get onto the course, you know, for the VCA and the VN. So yes, animal experience, absolutely a bonus. You know, if you can find any sanctuaries, rescue centres, anything at all, you know, kennels to go help at, all the better.
I've got a related question here, Audrey, but I think what I would say to this person, unless you've got anything to add, is if they really want to get a broader knowledge of this, I would advise them to come along to our animal care and veterinary nursing open day on Saturday, and both as well for that question as well about the volunteering. That's a question you can pose specifically to our staff. Audrey, do you know anything about how much hands-on work they get with the animals in the veterinary nursing course?
Yeah, currently the way it is, because it's City and Guilds and it's moving over to the degree programme, and I imagine it's not going to change that much from what I've seen from the curriculum plans. They are out in practice 3 days a week, and they're back in college for 2 days a week doing the theory and doing the skills centre type stuff. So when they go out to they get a placement. You're encouraged to find your own placement, but the team will help you and give you pointers and directions if you have practices that take on placements. But you get a placement, you're out there, you know, you're in your bib and tucker, and you're helping out alongside the vets and the qualified nurses.
Thank you, Audrey. And the next question is from Lisa, and Lisa is asking, how many days a week are the HND Agri students in college, and will some be blended learning? Lisa lives 3 hours away and not sure if she could commit fully to moving to Aberdeen full time.
Yeah. This year, what we've done is with COVID, it's all been online so far. Apart from the agris would come in 1 day a week, and they would come onto campus. And for those, what we've done is our halls, it's been like a bed and breakfast. So they've booked in for one night, done the day of agri, you know, practical stuff that they need to do, and then they book out of halls. And to be perfectly honest, I can't see us moving, you know, away from a blended learning model. That's not to say it's going to be as much, but I imagine there still will be a high element of blended learning when we come back, because things are so uncertain. I don't think they'll go back and start timetabling for a full on-campus experience, you know, in September. I think things might just be still a little bit kind of rocky to do that. Again, well worth speaking to the programme team leader about, you know, have they got anything planned, but it's usually 3 days a week. It was 3 days a week on campus, but it's been a blended learning, and I think it's been reduced to, I think, 1 day a week in small cohorts of groups. So it could be along similar lines.
Thanks, Audrey. Here's an interesting question. This person's saying they presume the answer is no, but just curious, are the halls pet friendly?
You know, something we've been asked this so many times, and I've actually found hamsters and all sorts in halls. I'm afraid the answer is no, unless it's an assistant's pet. I'm afraid it's such a shame. I would absolutely love to say, yeah, bring your pets, but there's so many different health and safety things, from allergies to, you know, what if pets don't get on, what if pets escape, you know, oh, the thought of a snake escaping. I know that Lucy probably wouldn't worry about that, but that would freak me out quite a bit. But I think, you know, because there's so many people in halls, that the residential manager has just said, no, sorry.
Okay, here's another question. I think Kat probably answered this in terms of this is staggered moving in, but when you're moving up from England, is it quite flexible when you're moving into halls? Yes,
yes, it really is. And again, I could foresee that we're not going to move away too far away from the model that we've got. They've been doing a bed and breakfast, you book it as you need it. Whereas universities, you know, at the beginning of this epidemic, it was a case of, guess what, you've got your halls, you've got them for a year and you're committed to it. We took the stance very, very early on. What do you need? You book what you need. You know, you arrive when you need, you go away when you need, you know, and we were there to help guide the students on and off with everything with COVID, with changes and with restrictions changing. You know, right, okay, we know we've got a 2-week window, we need to get you back home for Christmas. You know, and I was kind of standing there shoving and pushing them onto the bus to get home for Christmas. You know, otherwise I'm going to come cook for you on Christmas Day. That really got rid of them in a hurry. But no, very, very flexible. Come and go as you need.
Okay, this is fairly putting you through your paces, Audrey.
Did I get the job?
Is there a rough time frame as to when accommodation can be booked?
Rough time as to when? No, you just book, because what I do is I kind of liaise between the residential manager and the programme team leaders, and I kind of liaise between them so that the residential manager knows how long a course is running for and when the practical elements are, and then we make sure that there's enough space, and we timetable it all to make sure there's enough space in the halls for everybody to be able to book. And she knows how long a practical session or course will go for. So, for example, the animal care students, the intros this year, before we kind of got locked down again, we kind of kept it in 4-week short blocks for them, so that they would come, book in for 4 weeks, do their 4 weeks, and then poof, they're off again. And then we rotated, you know, through the different groups to make sure that everybody could get a booking. For the HND animal, for the agris, sorry, they were coming onto campus once a week and they were booking in. For the VCAs, they were coming onto campus twice a week, and so they were booking in for 2 days at a time. So it's very, very flexible.
Okay, Audrey, thank you very much. So you mentioned the buses to and from the city centre. In normal times, what times are these buses?
Gosh, that feels like so long ago. I'm gonna hazard a guess that the buses kind of left the city centre around about 8:20, because they used to arrive on campus around about 9:20, because that's when I'd see the stream of students going to the canteen for their bacon butties. And then the classes finish at 4:30, so the bus would leave the campus again around about 5:20, and then get back into Aberdeen city centre for 5 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. Again, this is quite a specific animal care question, but because of COVID, this person hasn't been able to get the work experience they'd hoped to get. And will this affect their application?
No, they're taking that into consideration because they realise that it's affecting everybody. So the best thing to do, if you've not heard anything back, get in touch and and speak to somebody from the team. Drop me an email, and I can point you in the right direction. I can look up your application. But no, they are taking that into account, the fact that people can't get the experience that they'd be hoping for.
Thank you, Audrey. The next question, somebody's asking why we don't have a drone recording of the site. I can answer that. I've actually been going through my drone pilot's license. It's been a nightmare. And that has now come to an abrupt stop because of COVID as well. We can't get the practical training. So that is one reason why we don't have it. Number two is because we are actually in the airspace of the airport, and we cannot just go and get that footage without getting a lot of other authorities involved. So that is one of the reasons why at this point in time we do not have drone footage of the campus. Hopefully at some point we might have internal drone footage of the campus, but that answers that question. Unfortunately, we don't have. We may be able to get hold of something from the people that are actually working close to us that I think did manage to obtain footage, and that's something I'm going to look into, but we don't have specifically of the actual campus at the moment. The next question, Audrey, is there somewhere for somebody to keep their bike safely?
Yes, there is. I've had bike shelters installed, and it's a covered bike shelter. So I was thinking about, if all things get really bad, you might find me in there. But no, it's an enclosed bike shelter. It's lockable. Yeah, it's a secure place.
Okay, and the next question for you, Audrey, is I'll be moving from South Yorkshire and wondering if the COVID travel restrictions would prevent us from travelling to the campus.
If you were a student just now, the restriction would be you're only allowed to come onto campus for essential practical purposes. So if we get into September and the course is starting, if it's essential for you to come onto campus, then I would issue a letter saying that you're coming up for essential practical purposes. If it's not essential to be on campus, and it's still blended learning, then no, you wouldn't be able to travel. But as soon as they start lifting restrictions and the tier systems and everything, start to lift as well, that it should be free movement.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, do we have a list of term dates for 21-22? They can't find them on the website.
They have just recently been agreed, and I don't know why they're not on the website, so I shall look into that.
Okay, and the next question is, do we have any orchestras? We
used to. we used to have a music room as well. Again, we don't, and that's really just because nobody's ever asked. But that's not to say we couldn't have, because I bet there's a lot of musicians amongst the student body.
I think, again, like we just said earlier, you know, if somebody comes and they're very passionate about, you know, that, then that's something they can look into starting up. The last question, I think, I'm watching very carefully, but as far as I can see, it is the last question. Who does Lisa speak to for further information on the agricultural programmes? She's currently studying HNC elsewhere.
Okay, that would be the PTL for that course. That would be the best person, or one of the course tutors actually. So what I would suggest is pop us an email if you want, or Bridget can give you the email address, you know, for the PTL of the course tutor, and then we can get someone to directly reply to you.
Yeah, I'm just double checking how to spell his name, because I don't know. And I'll type the email address into the dialogue box. And there is one more question, and I think this will have to be the last question, actually, everybody. So the last question is there a separation? This is a very interesting question. Is there a general separation between the HE and the FE students?
Now, if you're talking about a physical separation, so that campus is like room, no. Everybody intermingles in the halls, everybody intermingles throughout the building, everybody intermingles. No, it's not college, university, we are all one big body. I think what I do notice as I'm walking around campus is, on the whole, there are exceptions to the rule, but on the whole, I do notice that the FE students hang out with the FE students and the HE students hang out with the HE students. But I think that's mainly to do with class timetabling, you know, them being in groups naturally. They just kind of gravitate to the groups. This summer, fingers crossed, I'm really hoping that I'll be able to get into campus, and I'm creating more learning spaces. So I'm creating more study rooms, more private study areas. The canteen's having a bit of a transformation. The library's having a bit of transformation. You know, I'm looking to get more digital resources in there, and you know, hoping to make a student centre hub right in the heart of the college, so that you know where to find us all. You know, we're all kind of located in one area. But that, again, is all kind of dependent on COVID and whether or not I can get in there to start making these changes. Fingers crossed. But as to the FE-HE separation, nope. You're all one big happy family, and we help you progress. Excuse me, from the FE to the HE. Lose my voice.
Okay, I have got some more questions, but I really must insist these are the last ones, because we do actually have another event after this. So Rhiannon is asking if restrictions are still in place, will we still be learning from home, even if we're hours away? And she's apologising for asking the question again.
It's okay, Rhiannon, don't worry about it. Yes, if restrictions are in place and if we're not allowed to bring you onto campus, it will be distance learning. And you know something, I was nervous when we went to distance learning. I was worried that we'd lose students, that achievement would reduce, that engagement would reduce. Good grief. But what I'm finding is everybody's, you know, quite enjoying it, because there's online lectures, because there's recordings, because there's other activities. I know some of the lecturers are going out and they're filming stuff that they're doing, and they're putting that onto the e-learning platform, because it's maybe more of a variety. There's some students who are really enjoying it, and it means they can fit in their home life around the studies. And for some people who've got work commitments, child commitments, you know, just they want a little bit more of a life rather than sitting in a classroom all the time, they're really enjoying it. So yes, while the restrictions are in place, and you know, while the government is saying no, you can't have any non-essential activity on campus, yeah, still learning from home, I'm afraid, but it's not that bad.
Thank you, Audrey. And one more question, and I'll answer this so Audrey can get her dress back. How far away is the airport? The airport is right next to us. It's about a mile away. It's right beside the campus, so that's a very positive thing. And the last question is, who do I inquire to about my animal care application? I've typed Claire Morrison's email address into the dialogue box there, so if you check, you'll get that email address and contact Claire and she'll be able to update you. So that is it. There are no more questions. That was, I think, now the most questions we've ever had in one of our events. So thank you so much to everybody that's attended today. Thank you for asking all those questions. Really amazing, really relevant, and great when people do actually interact like that, because you're often asking a question that somebody else may want to ask. So firstly, thank you to all of you who have tuned in today to the event. And secondly, thank you to Audrey, Kat, Lucy and Katie for their input, and have a lovely evening, and thank you very much, and bye-bye.